Madam President, on Friday, in the midst of a Republican-led government shutdown, President Trump revealed his priorities. It isn't to protect the health insurance of millions of Americans who are about to lose their insurance or see premiums skyrocket. Nope, that's not it. The president's priority: to deploy militarized immigration agents and National Guard troops to more American cities. Why? Purely for political theater and to advance his extreme agenda. In the early morning hours of Tuesday last week, while this government barreled toward a shutdown, President Donald Trump launched a military law enforcement assault on the city of Chicago. In the city's South Side neighborhood, hundreds of federal agents, many hiding their faces with masks, rappelled from Black Hawk helicopters, darted out of disguised moving trucks, armed with military-grade weapons, to descend on a targeted apartment building in the city of Chicago. They swarmed through the building, knocking down doors, tearing up homes. And it appears that these agents knew nothing in advance about the residents whose homes they were destroying. In fact, in the dead of night, federal agents reportedly started checking on the residents as they brought them out of the building. Residents that included American citizens and children. They checked on them to see if maybe they had an outstanding warrant for their arrest or were undocumented. Picture this, if you will. You're with your family in an apartment building. A helicopter lands on the roof. Federal agents with masks on batter down your doors, drag you and your children out of their beds into the street, and start an interrogation as to whether there's any undocumented person present. America. Many were yanked from their homes and their beds and detained shirtless and without clothing. Some were detained using zip ties, including children. Here's what one witness to the event said. Kids were crying, people were screaming, they looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I saw the little girl come around the corner because they were bringing the kids down too. They had them zip-tied together. In the middle of the night in the city of Chicago, an assault on an apartment building in America. The witness continued, one of the agents laughed out loud. He said, F them kids. 4 U.S. citizen kids with undocumented parents were separated from their parents who were taken into custody. Secretary Kristi Noem's Department of Homeland Security posted to social media a highly produced video of the raid, her version of the story, because that's all this is to them, a promotional video, political theater. The human toll must be immense. What if it was your child, yanked out of his bed in the middle of the night, hands zip-tied behind him, brought down with few, if any, clothes on, standing in the street while all this is happening, watching his parents be arrested in America. In another case, ICE agents fired a pepper ball into CBS Chicago reporter Azo Rezi's car. What was her crime? Driving by the Broadview ICE facility to report on the protests there. It's known in the Constitution as freedom of the press. Doesn't seem to impress Kristi Noem. I've long fought for humane reforms to our immigration system on a bipartisan basis and evidence-based ways to reduce crime in our cities. If the president is serious about fixing our immigration system or lowering crime in our communities, I'm all in. But sending in militarized federal immigration agents and National Guard troops to terrorize Chicago or any American community in any state is not the American way. Excuse me. These actions have accomplished what I believe is the president's true intention here: spreading fear in America, especially among immigrant communities. And he's been very successful. I go to these communities virtually every weekend when I return back to Illinois. I meet with the people who live there. They are scared to death. People who have been here for years, no criminal record, no reason to be removed, working and paying taxes, are afraid to shop and afraid to go to church. Last week on the floor, I warned about this, and I have for some time now. The president's decision to unleash military personnel against the city of Chicago and American communities is another pillar in his master plan to weaponize the federal government against those he views as the enemy within. Where did that phrase come from? From the mouth of the President of the United States speaking to the military leaders of the United States. He told them to be fearful of the enemy within and to use American cities as their training ground. Think of that. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller ranted to law enforcement agents on the eve of their Memphis deployment that they were, quote, being unleashed. Stephen Miller's word, unleashed. Does that sound like law and order? Does that sound like the rule of law? Unleashed. In addition to Memphis and Chicago, this president has targeted cities like Los Angeles and Portland. Reckless immigration raids, unnecessary deployment of military power over the objection of state and local officials. I fear these disturbing developments are the latest indicators that we are on a slippery slope into control by the Trump regime. The president is attempting to overturn the Department of Justice, the FBI, ICE, and the military into his own personal police force. This not only erodes trust between communities and the people tasked with protecting them, it is an existential threat to civil liberty, the rule of law, and the core values of who we are as Americans. This is what's at stake, and this is a defining moment we're in. In times like these, you have a choice. You can stand up and speak out, or you can be silent, or maybe you could cheer. It's your choice as Americans. But think about it if it was your family, in the middle of the night, people crashing through the doors, yanking you and your children out of bed into the street, arresting people. Remember what the goal was when we got started with this? The president made it very clear. We were after undocumented people, illegal people in the United States who were rapists, murderers, terrorists, criminally insane, and child predators. The president was very explicit. These are the people we're going after. We'll tell you their names as we arrest them. So what percentage of those that's been arrested with this mass deportation, detained by ICE, what percentage of them have a criminal record? Fewer than 30%. By a 2-to-1 margin, innocent people are being dragged into this. In the middle of the night in the city of Chicago in an apartment building. Children are being treated like pawns in the Trump political game. Today, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul filed a lawsuit to block the administration's unconstitutional attempt to deploy troops in Illinois. I joined with all my Democratic colleagues in the Illinois delegation, calling on the president to immediately rescind this unnecessary and dangerous deployment of the military to Illinois. I've spoken personally to the governor of our state, J.B. Pritzker, several times this weekend as the story developed. He did not ask for the National Guard troops to be sent in from Texas or any place. There is no need for it, to either protect federal facilities or to protect the people living in the city of Chicago. I'm going to continue as ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee speaking out. And I appeal to my Republican colleagues who are watching this in silence. It could be you. you could have an opportunity soon for the president to send in troops. It's not likely as much from the Republican side. Very few of their communities have been targeted. But if you happen to live in a state that didn't vote for Donald Trump, buckle up. He's coming down on you, whether it's California, Oregon, or Illinois. I'll close with this. At that Tuesday morning raid, videos taken at the scenes showed detained immigrants being held in an adjacent parking lot. Across the street, a woman is seen heard calling out in broken Spanish, "I'll always love you." Where is the humanity in tearing families apart? If there is a dangerous person, for God's sake, put them in a separate category. But families that are doing their best to get by and struggle, work and pay taxes, and have children who are citizens of the United States should never be treated like this in America. In an interview recently, Secretary Noem was quoted as saying, "This country is a country of laws. If you don't like the laws, go change them. We are enforcing them." She said that is sending a message to the whole world. The Secretary is right. The administration certainly sent a message in Chicago on Tuesday night, a shameful message, one that shouldn't be part of American history. Terrorizing families with midnight raids and troops in our streets is writing a shameful chapter in our nation's history. This is going to make America great again. President Trump is not intent on fighting crime. He is intent on spreading fear, and in doing so, he is destroying the values which define us as Americans. I yield the floor.